What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets with Bobby Fi, and again, we're broadcasting this over some different streams as well. So again, I had a little time to do this, and this is a very unique video because we're going over this FFPC Playoff Challenge, and I had thought that it was something that not that many people paid attention to, but in the time that I've been working on it in the last week, it seems as though there's a lot of content on here. So I do encourage everybody, if they want like a full expert take, to look at, I think Pat Corain and Davis, and they have this big round table where they go over all the stuff. This has been going on since 2003, this contest, and it's pretty cool. It's kind of a once in a year thing to play, and I played it like 5 times, and I've never really got close. And I want to go over it, and what we're going to do is we're going to build a lineup here after we go over it, and this is actually going to be a community lineup. So you see, I already named this team TrueDFS. So you and I are in this one together. We'll build this one. We'll build this one together here. So here are the rules. Okay. So there are 14 teams in the playoffs. And again, for those of you that have seen this before, it might seem very beginnerish, but whatever it is. There are 14 teams in the playoffs. What you have to pick are 12 players to accumulate fantasy points for as long as they are in. Okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is that you can only pick one player per team. Okay? So there's no stacking, no whatever. If you want to play, Puka, you can't play Stafford. Okay, you want to play, you get the idea, right? So you're going to have 12 players, and then you're going to have 2 teams without representation, right? Because you have 12 slots and 14 teams to choose from. So 2 teams don't make your lineup, and the rest get 1 per team. Now, as far as the positions go, what you're going to have is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 4 flexes, and then 1 kicker and 1 defense. Okay, so that's how your 12 is going to be allocated. And then you have this like pretty weird scoring system, which honestly, I tried to like allocate time to do my own projections for this scoring system. It's honestly, to me, just too hard. I just couldn't do it. But a couple of things worth mentioning is, number one, is that you accumulate fantasy points as long as you're alive. But if you're in the Super Bowl, you get double points. So if you have a player that's in the Super Bowl, whether they win or lose, you get double points. But like some of these weird scoring things, first of all, it's PPR, sort of, but it's 1.5 point per reception for tight ends, which is something you don't see a lot. And then here, this is actually kind of vague. It says 1 point per reception for running backs and wide receivers. This is parentheses or QB. I mean, does that mean that you get a reception for a completion for a QB? I honestly don't know. Okay. Then you have these shutout bonuses for defense and stuff like that. So I'm just going to ignore like the difference in the scoring a little bit. And just focus on kind of lineup construction and just kind of presume that we know who the best, what good DFS scores are. Okay. So what we're going to do is talk about what's important. Okay. So let's say we know like what good players are, what they expect to score in a game as far as fantasy points. The most important thing to figure out is how many games they're going to be playing, okay? And for those of you who play best ball, specifically playoff best ball, this is a huge thing, okay? Because you have to amass points throughout the entire playoffs. So you have to figure out who's going to play the most games. So it's not just who's the most likely team to win the Super Bowl, because the way it works, obviously, is that the number 1 seeds, assuming that you think those are the top teams, but we'll get to that in a minute, they're not going to play a wild card round game. Okay, so the most amount of games they can even play is 3, where everybody else has a ceiling of 4. So the first thing that everybody has to do is figure out kind of how many games everybody's going to play. So I actually have this that I just kind of created here. And this was kind of based on different Super Bowl odds and things like that. And what instinctively to everybody is probably correct is correct. That the team that rates to play the most games is the Rams. Okay, because they have that great combination of having a shot to win the Super Bowl, one of the best shots to win the Super Bowl, and they get to play in the wild card round. Okay, so I have like 2.6 games, and then you have these other teams like the Patriots, Philly. They about 2 games. Seattle, even though they have a bye, they have 2 games. And the 2 teams that not obviously, 3 teams that rate to play the least amount, well, Carolina, because they're a 10-point underdog in round 1. And then these other 3 teams that are underdogs, like the Chargers, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco. Okay. So when you're trying to figure out who you're going to play, these are the teams you want to make sure that you have. The top guys on the Rams, and then Pats, Philly, Seattle, Houston, or whatever. Okay. So that's kind of like the setup here. And now is a question of how to fill this stuff in. Okay, so instinctively, now we've never talked about this before, Bobby, even though you and I play this kind of separately. What we're going to do is we're going to fill in what we think is like the best lineup. We're not going to talk about ownership yet, but it's important to know like what the best lineup is. So I guess first of all, the easiest decision, maybe it's not the easiest one, is you probably are going to want to fade like one of those 2 of those 3, those 3 bottom teams, like Carolina. We're not talking about like the leverage or anything like that. Like you probably want to get rid of Carolina or Pittsburgh or the Chargers, I guess. But then the funny thing is that these other 2 positions at the end, this kicker and defense, in the parlance of the people that play this like a lot, they call these soft fades. Like if you want to use your one guy from the team as like a place kicker or a defense, it's because you really don't think they're going to go that far, but you think they're going to go a little bit further than the team that's like you have 0 exposure to. So let's start with this. Like, who do you think like instinctively would be just like the best play?
I think that the one who would probably be the most owned would be Nakua.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that makes perfect sense. The pivot would be if you play Devontae Adams for the touchdown upside from the Rams, because you're probably using somebody from the Rams, one of those 3. And I think that Puka is obviously the most logical, but I think if you wanted to get a little different, it would be Devontae or Stafford.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill in what we think is like the obvious plays, and then we'll like try to pivot. So so if you're going to play like Puka, let's talk about let's put him in there. Let's talk about the running backs. Okay. So to me, I'll go next. There are, to me, the easiest, the most logical running back play to me is going to be McCaffrey. Okay. Because you're going to probably pick someone from that team, and he's clearly, like the best performer on that team, like by a lot. And not only that, but he's one of the top, if not the top, like running back as well. Now, even though they're only going to get like 1.5 games or whatever it is on average, he's got such a freaking ceiling. If God forbid they win, that again, these 2 guys I think are going to be. And if you listen, you go to some of the other sites, they actually have ownership projections. I think these got to be like 80% owned guys, like for example. Now there's there are 2 other running backs that we should talk about. Well, who do you think they would be if you have 2 other running backs?
Josh Jacobs, depending on where you stand with Green Bay and how far they'll go. James Cook, depending on how you feel about Buffalo and where they'll go. I think Cook would be the logical. If you think Buffalo is going to make a run, which Vegas certainly seems to, that would be the other one. And then the one who hasn't been himself quite all year would be Saquon.
So here's the thing. So here's one of the big decisions that people are going to have to make. So if you play James Cook, then you don't get Josh Allen. Right. And if you play, so that's going to be a decision point, is whether you play Cook and another quarterback, or another quarterback in James Cook. But he's definitely one of them. The other one that I thought about was Saquon, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that. So, and the good thing about Saquon is that if you don't play Saquon, it's not as if like you know which Philly guy you're going to play.
Right.
You know? Although, I mean, you're probably not going to play Hurts, right? So if it's not Saquon, then I guess it would be A.J. Brown, right?
Or Devontae. Yeah, I think they're pretty close to Devontae.
Or Goddard.
Or Goddard even, yeah. They have more options.
Remember with the 1.5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Josh Jacobs makes a lot of sense for no other reason than, again, if we're going to play someone from Green Bay, which I think that we probably are, maybe, that, again, you could put all these guys in these flexes. And I think that, again, from a logical perspective, he's probably the best guy to play on Green Bay. Like, if, again, we could talk about pivots, like you could want to go for your Romeo Dobbs thing, or like the or Christian Watson or whatever it is. But again, we're just going to start with like the chalk. I think Josh Jacobs certainly makes a lot of sense. So what about Jacksonville? So Jacksonville, I think, like we talked about the different, you know, the like James Cook, and you don't get to play Josh Allen. I think that in my world, that Trevor Lawrence alongside of Josh Allen and Drake May are probably the three quarterbacks you're going to want to choose from. Like Drake May, to me, looks like probably the easiest one, because if you don't play Drake May from New England, like who are you playing? You know, so
yeah.
So it's a weird thing, right? Do you play Drake May and James Cook, or do you play Josh Allen and find someone else from New England? What do you think?
So the problem it really depends on what you think of the Buffalo Jacksonville game, you know?
Okay.
You're only going to get these guys for as long as they're in there.
Right.
And I think that where I, you know, I'm mostly going to treat it like I have the Rams beating Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I think I'll treat my lineups a little bit as such. But I also think that I really like whoever wins Buffalo Jacksonville to come out of the AFC. So I don't mind the idea of trying to use one of those guys. I don't think I could talk myself into using, outside of James Cook, I think he's the only other Bill in contention for Josh Allen. The problem with Josh Allen is you really want those, because the quarterback gets such sure points, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you really want your guy to get there. You know what I mean? Like you really want to have the quarterback that you think might be the Super Bowl, which might, by the way, may even include taking Nakua out and including Stafford. But I think Josh Allen makes a lot of sense.
Now, if you do that, then you're not playing Drake May, right? So
I'm not very interested in Drake May, because I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl.
Well, so if that's the case, you know what you probably want to do for New England? You probably want to play Hunter Henry then, right?
Right. So does it work out to where we actually have to have one from each team, or there's one team, or there's two teams you can leave out?
No, there are two teams that you X out.
Yeah, two teams you leave out. Okay.
So I presume, that's what I was saying at the beginning, I presume like Carolina is going to be one of them. And the other one, I've been from a logical perspective, probably Pittsburgh, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but those are the two logical ones. So if you played. So again, if you have an opinion that you don't think New England's going to the Super Bowl, then, but listen, you want to play someone from that team, then I think that Henry certainly makes some sense.
Yeah, Henry or the maybe the defense even, just to, you know, just in case. That would be the only other one who stands out on New England.
Now, speaking of that, right? So one team, well. Let's talk about some obvious stuff. So Seattle's the number 1 seed, right? Even though they don't get to play in the wild card round, they're still one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to get there. So I imagine that JSN is going to be like really, really popular. And but here's the thing, like if you really think that the Rams are going to get there and beat Seattle, like that could be like a pretty cool fade, you know, like if you, now again, Rams playing Seattle, it's not exactly so simple, because for Rams to actually play Seattle, also the Bears have to beat the Packers.
That's right.
So the Packers beat the Bears, and the Packers have to play Seattle.
And Philadelphia has to beat San Francisco.
Well, no. If Philadelphia beat San Francisco, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So they play San Francisco.
So I mean, but as far as like chalk and like logic stuff, you probably want to play someone from Seattle, and who else? Now, what about a team like Denver? Like Denver, they're the 1 seed, but they could be the 1 seed and not even be favored in their first game. It's possible.
Yeah.
But I mean, we certainly want to play them over a team like Carolina. So like, and these others. So who would you play from Denver, you think?
I think I probably would lean Sutton, but I think RJ Harvey would be the other one.
So let's put
maybe Harvey's interesting, actually.
Let's put Harvey. Where'd he go? Again, it's not exactly the easiest site to navigate here. Running back, RJ, he should be here somewhere. Harvey.
There he is.
Okay. Bye. That's fine. Okay. Okay. So we have the Rams, we have Denver, we have McCaffrey, we use Josh Allen. So if we use Josh Allen, then we probably from Jacksonville should probably use Etienne. Do you think?
I would rather play Jacobs than Etienne.
Or you can play them both.
Yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just the problem with Etienne is if you're playing Josh Allen, then you're betting on him getting 1 game.
Right, but we're playing some. Okay, so fine. So who instead of Etienne? So if you're going to play Jacksonville, I mean, you got to play them, right? Because
right.
So it's either play them like thinking they're going to really lose and play them like the kicker and the defense, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, I mean, you need to find someone from a team that you think is going to win. That's going to, you know what I mean? Instead of Etienne. So we already have. Well, we didn't put Barkley in, but again, like one of these teams is going to lose, but it's still, you still have to pick somebody, right? So who would you rather play between, say, Barkley and like AJ Brown for Philly?
I think Barkley is slight preference for me.
So let's just put him in. We did not put Jacobs in yet because again, we have to use two of the teams we're using. We're going to kind of sort of fade a little bit. So let's first put in a Denver guy just to see what this looks like. So Sutton. Oh, we put in Harvey, right? So we put in Harvey. Let's fade Pittsburgh and Carolina for now.
Yep.
So just to hold something. Let's put in the Chargers defense just to hold something. And who else would be? Well, let's look at these other teams for a second. So the Bears, we haven't used anybody yet. Who would be your favorite Bear?
That's a tough one because we don't know who's healthy for the receivers yet. I mean, Swift is the most logical, but we don't know who's there yet. And they were the other team that I was considering. Maybe we fade.
Maybe fading.
Like if you wanted to throw them into that other mix.
Into the kicker or something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that. That was sort of where I was with them. Because I don't feel secure with any of the skill position options.
Well, one guy that we could certainly slide in right here is Nico Collins, right, from Houston.
Yeah.
Now the only other team that I would
love that
the guy I would use from Houston would be their defense, actually.
Yeah.
Soft fade them. So, but let's put in Collins here. And then, so who do we have left? So we faded Carolina. We so far have faded Pittsburgh. So who do we have left here that we have? Jacksonville. Do we put Jacksonville in yet? No, we haven't used a Jacksonville guy yet.
Yeah, and so maybe ATN would be the answer then in the situation. I think that probably would be. Okay. Now this might be a little bit chalky on the chalkier side.
Oh no! It certainly is. So we're going to get. Yeah. We're going to talk about the pivots in a second. So where'd ATN go? Again, he's not so easy to find. Did I put him in already?
I don't think so.
Jacksonville team already. He should be here somewhere. McCaffrey. There he is. Okay. Okay. So a lineup like this is going to be very logical. It gets everything that you sort of want, like Carolina's. We have Carolina out. We have Pittsburgh out. Okay. And then we have kind of soft fades of the Bears and the Chargers. Right? Mm-hmm. All this makes sense. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be something that everybody does, I think, or at least some variation of that. So now we get to kind of like put our little spin on everything. So what do you think? You thought the Bills and who would be in the Super Bowl?
I have the Rams and Bills right now. I don't feel great about it because I think Jacksonville's better, but I don't care. I know you hate this part of the conversation, but I really feel like the NFL wants Josh Allen to go as far as possible.
Dude, this is FFPC. I have no problem with discussing anything.
Okay.
I mean, like this is like total crapshoot.
Okay. Yeah.
I think again, you want a good lineup. I promise you, everybody you put this thing in, you're going to be alongside like a lot of people, you know. Yep. But you know what some people are going to do? Some people are going to swap. You know, they're going to put Drake May over here.
Yep.
You know, and then they'll end up playing James Cook.
Right.
Some people might, instead of playing Henry here, they'll play that Loveland from Chicago in the tight end. You know, and if you really want to fade New England. You know, if you think New England's going to lose in their first round game against the winner of Buffalo, Jacksonville, which is very, very very possible, right? Then you could drop New England to the defense.
Yeah,
you know, that could be somewhat contrarian.
It's also interesting if you're playing like multiple lineups. Like what I'm going to do is probably use Allen and Lawrence as my main quarterbacks because I really believe whoever wins that game is going to win the AFC. I don't believe it like so strongly, but I believe it strongly enough to try and say, okay, well that means I'm going to lock that part up because I do want the quarterback or the running backs from a team that's going to go to the Super Bowl. Obviously, I think that you get a little bit more, you know, with the tight end, the kicker and the defense. I think that's where you want your losing teams, unfortunately, just because you can't accumulate quite as many points, which is not anything groundbreaking. What I'm saying, it's just the way I see it.
So if we think it's Buffalo and the Rams, then who do we let's do the bracket here. So how is this going to happen? So the Rams are going to beat Carolina. Buffalo is going to beat Jacksonville. So I think what you could do, like if you want to be a little different, is you could like kind of either full fade Jacksonville, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like or drop them to this Chicago spot. You know what I mean? Like maybe you swap Etienne for, I don't know, pick your favorite bear or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, I have an idea. You were making a case when we did our DFS thing that the Chargers are live against the Patriots. So
yeah, I think they're live, but I also think that about the ATN, you kind of reminded me they've got the most powerful kicker, like the guy with the biggest leg in the league,
right?
For Jacksonville. The problem, so like in a Josh Allen quarterback thing, I actually think that's a good correlation because you can possibly get your 12 to 14 whatever points from your kicker in that one game, and they lose, and then you get Josh Allen moving on. Does that make sense? Am I overreaching with that way of thinking? I'm saying that if one of them is going to go, I don't know.
I think that kickers usually score points when the team scores points in general.
Well, I think there are going to be points scored in that game. I just think that it's I mean, it's just a nice thing.
Maybe what you're supposed to do is you play Josh Allen, and then I think I have the answer. Maybe you pick a guy who could have a really good game that's on the way out for Jacksonville. Who's going to be low owned? And you know who that is? It's the guy you mentioned in our DFS thing. Maybe like Brian Thomas.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Because he's going to be like 2% owned in this thing.
Right.
You know? Because if you play Jacksonville, I think you're either going to play Lawrence or Etienne.
Or Washington even, or
even Washington,
or Myers.
Or even Myers.
Yeah, or
so
straight.
If you want to take this route that the Bills get there and Jacksonville definitely loses, then you play. Let's do this. Let's take him out, Etienne out. I'll put in Thomas. And again, who knows how different you really have to get in these things, but I think
that's different. I like that.
It's definitely a good start. Again, I can't even find him here. It's like amazing, right? This is alphabetical even. I mean, who knows?
There it is. No, it's in projected points.
So that's one thing you could do.
He's going to be like less than 1%, or maybe even just 1%.
Maybe this is all you need to do.
I don't even
know. You got Brian Thomas with like 17 fantasy points in a loss.
Right.
That's definitely possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're already sort of fading New England because you have the Henry instead of May. But again, I don't think May is going to be like ultra chalky because people are going to want to play Josh Allen, right? I think that people are going to look at it and say, I want either Josh Allen or Trevor Lawrence, like we did, or Drake May. I mean, if you really wanted to get funky, you'll play.
It'll be those and then Drake May and then Stafford. Those will be the ones.
Right. I mean, if you really want to get funky, you play James Cook.
Yeah.
And then somebody else at quarterback or something.
Do you know what's very odd about this is that the team that's the co-favorite to win the Super Bowl, I think their quarterback is going to be very low owned because I think everybody will just play JSN and they won't play. I'm just talking about theory here. I'm not saying I'm changing this lineup or whatever, but no one's going to play Sam Darnold, and that team is, as likely to win the Super Bowl as anybody. That's kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, if you did, for example, just for the hell of it, you put in the flex, you put in Cook.
Yeah.
Which is somewhere. I know it's somewhere. And then you put in Stafford.
You can't put in Stafford until you take out Nakua.
Yeah. You got to take him out first, right?
Yeah.
Or what I was going to say is take out Darnold. Put in Darnold instead of JSN.
Right. That would be the ultimate, because even if people think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, they're playing JSN, and it's logical. It makes sense even, but no one's going to go the other way. And what if it's Barner time? And what if he has the 300 and the 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, and you get the double points for the Super Bowl, like you said?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think though that is definitely
maybe a little too big.
My 20th lineup or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't think it's the main thing. I just was throwing out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's put Josh Allen back in here. We got to take Cook out. Put Josh Allen back in here. We'll put JSN back in here. Unless you wanted to go for like Kenneth Walker from that team. Or Barner season at tight end.
You know who I think is an incredible one is Charbonnet. But only so like I would only want to use Charbonnet, and again, this maybe comes to lineup number 30 or whatever. Right. But if I'm only using 2 running backs and I'm using all wide receivers in the flex, using Charbonnet as one of those, just nobody's doing this. And by the way, Charbonnet has been just as productive as Kenneth Walker. Like, I mean, basically, you know what I mean? It's close enough. Plus, there's injuries and things happen. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Let's put JSN. Put Collins back in here. Is this different enough?
I think that Brian Thomas Jr. is really different.
Well, you know what you could do? I mean, if you want to do something different, you could, instead of playing Saquon, you could play like Devonta Smith or something.
That's interesting. That's true. You could play Devonta Smith. I actually like that. And
I mean, one thing I will say about Devonta Smith, he has had a good game this year, which I'm not sure about Barkley.
No, he's had a few. Yeah, it's true. Devonta, he's had a few good ones. And he would be obviously the lower choice between he and AJ Brown.
Yeah,
I actually kind of like him better for this thing. Just can he outscore him over the period of 4 games? Sure, he can. Or 3 games. No, 4. I'll tell you what, though, if we get word that Adunze is good, and if you want to take some shots and stuff like that, like if you want to really get, I like the Brian Thomas idea. I think Adunze would be another one that it wouldn't surprise me if the Bears won a couple rounds that he put up like 300 yards and a couple touchdowns or something like that. He's one that you would consider. I think guys like Ladd McConkey are one you would consider if you think that the Chargers could make a run. And that's sort of how I'm going to look at it, is try and figure out the way that it makes most sense. What I would like to do is if I have if I'm playing a Buffalo and Rams Super Bowl, I would like to have Nakua and Josh Allen, or James Cook and Matt Stafford, something like that, or James Cook and Puka. And then I think you try and think about how you see it going, and then the different variations, and maybe sometimes taking the second best player. Remember, they don't need to outscore them every game. You said double points for the Super Bowl, or points and a half for the Super Bowl. You outscore them in that one game. Maybe Brian Thomas isn't the leading receiver for Jacksonville all the way through the playoffs, but maybe in the Super Bowl he has the big game.
I got one other possible pivot. Again, this is going to be a 2% owner, but it's definitely along the lines of stuff we've talked about in the DFS thing. How about instead of Josh Jacobs, we go with the big helmet,
Romeo Doubs. There we go. Why couldn't he be? First of all, one of those receivers always gets hurt, Watson and Reed anyway. So if they make a run, yeah, why not big hat Romeo Doubs? That now we're getting into like some who's going to have this? You know what I mean?
Nobody.
You got Romeo Doubs and Brian Thomas in this format.
Because nobody's following us if they know what's good for them. Let's see, Romeo Doubs. You got to go all the way down here to find them.
I like that a little bit.
So you get the variation where Santos kicks a couple of field goals on the way out, but it's Romeo Doubs season, but then they have to go into Seattle. That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But actually, that makes even more sense, because then what they'll do is the outside guys will have no room, and Doubs will get a bunch of underneath passes. Still PPR.
Yeah. Any other thoughts here? Are we good?
The one last guy just to mention, and it's hard because it's a 0%er. Nobody's going to play this guy. I just thought I would throw out that if you're not betting on Buffalo to win, I think that taking a shot with Shakir is not the worst idea in the world.
Okay.
There's plenty of paths where if they do lose, that Shakir has a bigger game than James Cook. And that's really all you're asking for if you're betting on them losing.
I have one other idea though. Again, this is not a big deal, but I think I'd rather have the better kicker. I think I'd rather have Dicker from the Chargers at kicker, and then maybe put the Bears at defense.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so let's do that. I'll tell you who's probably going to get owned is at kicker. Might be Boswell, even though he missed, just because.
Yeah, I think that the Steelers will. I actually think the Steelers are going to appear potentially with their defense and with Boswell, maybe even like as much as some of these other teams that we don't think that they will. Because I think people will just say, okay, the Steelers defense is the way out. They'll get a few sacks at least. Whatever.
Wait a minute. So defense. Give me no choices.
0 options at defense.
Bears, you put that in. Chicago. Yeah, I don't even know how to.
I don't know why it's not showing it. Oh, it's like still sorted by Dicker.
This first. Yeah. Let's. Okay. Still sorted by Dicker. Okay. Let's see.
It's not the greatest software in the world. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a lot of fun.
Not the best, but this is what we're going to put in. So I'll fix this. So it's going to be Allen, McCaffrey, Harvey, Nakua, Njigba, Collins, Brian Thomas, Devontae Smith. This is our
spot. Yeah.
These are our 3.
Yeah.
Thomas, Smith, and Dobbs. We're going to change to Dicker as long as the software lets me. And then we'll go Bears defense.
I think so.
Okay. All right. So you and I are in halvesies for this one.
Okay.
Everybody can sweat the TrueDFS lineup. And we'll see. We'll see how good. The good thing is that from what I've been able to tell, it's literally impossible to upload CSVs of lineups.
Yeah.
So if people are gonna build 150 of these things using their Sims or whatever, they're gonna have to grind and manually upload them. So,
yeah.
Good for that.
Good for everyone. Yeah.
But listen, it should be fun, and they do have live scoring on here, which you can follow. And after the first week, we'll check in.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good, man.